Welcome to the Social Network. Let's quickly take a look at what's on the show today. After Wharton's India Economic Forum cancelled Gujarat Chief Minister's keynote address at the last minute because of protest petitions, Narendra Modi remains silent despite the excessive chatter, both online and offline. So, love him or loathe him, but you simply can't ignore him. This well-oiled cliche still applies to Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi, perhaps more so now, given that never before has there been such a growing chorus to pitch him as the BJP's prime ministerial candidate. From the time he agreed to be the keynote speaker at Wharton, to him being dropped and all the developments in between, enough to send social media buzzing for the last 72 hours. So on the Social Network today, we discuss Wharton snub, why is Modi silent? Before we introduce our panelists for the day, let's quickly listen in to a couple of views that you, the viewer, have sent us.
People are rejecting his invitation on the post-Godra and on his non-secular image. Then we cannot ignore the Babri Masjid demolition and that Sikh riots also.
All right, joining us on the show, we've got with us Sadanand Dhume. He's the resident fellow, American Enterprise Institute. He's joining us on a video call. He's in the capital. Joining us also on a video call is Venki Vembu, who's the senior editor with First Post. We're going to bring you up in just a minute. In the studio with us, we've got Saikat Ghosh. He's a professor of Delhi University and one of the people who signed the petition that Modi's keynote address should in fact be cancelled. We've also got with us Krishna, who's the editor of the Unreal Times. It's a satire really on politics. Sadanand, I just want to start with you first. Of course, since the Modi's keynote address was cancelled on the last minute, there have been, we saw Adani, of course, withdrawing from that entire event completely. And then, of course, there was you who decided to withdraw. And in fact, you wrote a very sharp piece today explaining why it is that you've decided to withdraw from the event as a whole.
Yeah, I think that, there are two separate issues. One issue is what you feel about Narendra Modi, and then quite separate to that is what you feel, whether you feel the Wharton School and the University of Pennsylvania handled this whole incident with grace. I think regardless of what you feel about Narendra Modi, the way you can't say that Wharton and UPenn handled this incident gracefully. In fact, they handled it disgracefully. They are the people who invited Modi in the first place. It's not as though he came to them begging for an invitation. They invited him. His record is public. Everybody knows who he is. They sent him an invitation, and then at the first sign of pressure, some 48 hours later, they crumbled and they rescinded the invitation. I thought that was extremely tasteless. I thought it goes absolutely against what a university ought to stand for, which ought to be, a university ought to be a place where you can disagree with people and you can have a passionate, reasoned debate. You can criticize Modi. You can force him to ask tough questions. You can do all kinds of things. But I think it's in very poor form to simply rescind an invitation which they gave in the first place.
Okay, Saikat, is that not a very moderate point of view in a sense? Because we're seeing two sides of the debate, but...
That's a moderate point of view founded on a misrepresentation of facts. First of all, it's the Adani Group which is sponsoring this India Economic Forum, and because the Adani Group is close to Modi, he's trying to buy public legitimacy, and this forum is being sponsored by them on the condition that Modi be called as a keynote speaker. Secondly, Mr. Sadanand Dhume talks about debates and people asking questions. Now, it's a keynote address. Everybody knows that keynote addresses don't end with open house discussions. There are no questions asked. The same thing happened when Modi came to Delhi University to deliver a keynote address. So, it's a little disingenuous on Sadanand's part to be saying such things.
Sadanand,
it's not disingenuous at all on my part. My point is very simple. Wharton had the ability to structure the event in a way that would address the legitimate concerns of protesters. I have nothing against protest. What I can't stand is this kind of selective tolerance, or rather pure intolerance in the garb of liberalism. If you don't agree with the guy, have a conversation around what you disagree with. And then if Wharton had then come back and said, or if Modi had then come back and said, no, I will only give a speech and I will take no questions, then this gentleman's point is valid. But we don't know that question, nor do we know, this is as far as I'm concerned, that this was some sponsorship deal. Where is the evidence for that? What we do know is that they contacted Modi. It's perfectly legitimate whether you agree with Modi or don't agree with Modi. Any sentient being reading the newspapers knows that a conversation about India's economy in 2013 is in part a conversation about the Gujarat model of development.
All right. So